Hello everyone, my name is Heather and welcome to the channel Bookables. Today I'm going to be talking about winter reads, aka books that you can read when it is freezing cold outside and you hate everything. That's me. I don't like winter. I loathe it. I think Christmas is great. I love the holiday season with the lights and everything. It's great, but then January hits and everything is bleak as mess. January, February, I loathe them. Like I don't know. I love being outside. My kids love being outside. So when I can't be outside because it's freezing, I am not happy. But however, there are some amazing books that have a very wintry setting. So all of these books I'm talking about today are meant to be read by the fire. Very snowy setting, cold setting. All of them are meant to be read in the winter. And I have some books that I have read that I'm talking about today, and I have some that I have not read that I'm still recommending because of sheer just the setting of them, which makes them winter reads, like cold time reads, like get yourself a coffee, hot chocolate, curl yourself up by the fire, get a nice blanket. Those all sound amazing, and read these books. First up, I want to talk about The Great Alone by Kristin Hannah. This book takes place in 1974 in Alaska, and it's a very, very small town in Alaska. And if you know Alaska, Alaska gets brutal, brutal winters. Like they get winters where it's only light for an hour a day. I can never survive it. I never could. But either way, this book is told with the family of the Albrights and how they moved to Alaska and basically how they have to learn how to survive in Alaska with dealing with these really extreme seasons while also dealing with their father, who is an alcoholic and is very abusive, and they have to learn that the wilderness is not just scary, but inside their home is scary as well. So it kind of follows the trajectory of their life. And Alaska in this book in itself is like another character because you get all like very vivid imagery of Alaska and the weather, and you see how dire it can be. It's a beautiful book. I love Kristin Hannah, you guys know this, but just be prepared to shed a lot of tears going in this book because any Kristin Hannah book you have that you want to read, have a box of tissues nearby. Just trust me, literally any of them. Make sure you have tissues. This one made me sob. Much like Beartown by Fredrik. So this book is also taking place in a very wintry town. This one takes place in Beartown in Sweden, which is where Fredrik Backman is from. And this town really loves ice hockey. It's kind of like their lifeblood. And everything is great. They have like the best like kind of high school hockey. And then they learn that their town's golden boy, captain of the ice hockey team, gets accused of rape. And the town becomes quickly divided on whether or not he did it or not, and you kind of really see the town divided from that. But either way, like I said, it's a great wintertime read because ice hockey. When you think of ice hockey, you think about winter. This book takes place in the winter because of ice hockey, and it really also is a very brutal town because it's so small. No one really knows about it. It's kind of in the woods, and with this happening to this town, it becomes really blown up out of proportion. So again, if you want to read this book, make sure you have a box of tissues because you will need it, trust me. Moving into YA books, I have Winterwood by Shea Ernshaw. This is all about a character named Nora who is a witch that lives in a cabin in the woods, and basically she goes for a walk in the woods one day and she finds a boy there and she brings him home to her cabin, and there is a big snowstorm that happens that makes him kind of stuck there. So she learns who he is and how he got to be in the woods, and it's all witchy and very, very atmospheric. If you've read any of Shea Ernshaw's books before, her books just really teleport you to there. Like I felt like I was in this snowstorm in this small cabin with this kind of witchy girl. Like I was for it. I loved it. So I don't recommend a ton of YA books now because I don't read them a lot, but Winterwood definitely reminds me of winter, and like just I really enjoyed this book, and the atmospheric vibes it gave off was just chef's kiss. And then we have a couple of thrillers. We have An Unwanted Guest by Shari Lapena. This is kind of like a take on Agatha Christie locked door mystery. We have this bed and breakfast, I believe that's in the Catskill Mountains of New York, and a snowstorm happens and the power goes out and everybody's stuck there, and what do you know, a murder also happens. So you're trying to figure out who did it, why they do it, all those many things, all happening while a snowstorm is happening. It's not one of my favorites, but it's a good wintry one. If you want a good winter thriller that's kind of locked door, kind of Agatha Christie-esque, this one's a great one because I think several characters try to go out on foot in the snowstorm and you're like, what are you doing? It's snowing. This is not a good idea, but it was a fun time. This book that I've read from that I want to recommend, which is kind of hard to do for me, is One by One by Ruth Ware. I don't like Ruth Ware. I have read like 6 or 7 of her books, okay? I've given her a fair shot. She's an author that I've just come to terms with that is not for me, and that is okay. It's taken me a long time to accept that because I always feel bad when I'm like, that author's not for me because people love their books. Who's to say I don't like them, you know? But Ruth Ware's one of them. This is actually the last book I've read by her. So that I was like, I'm just good. I'm done. So why am I recommending it, you may ask? Because it is a very wintry setting. So this one is very much like the last one I talked about, where it's a very kind of locked door mystery. In this book, we have a company that decides to go to this rustic ski chalet, hopefully I pronounced that right, high in the French Alps. And so they go there. It's a beautiful kind of like cabin thing. And again, a snowstorm happens. One of them goes missing. Secrets are being held. And it's just kind of from there. I didn't enjoy it personally. I did not enjoy it. But for the sake of this video, for the setting, it's set in the French Alps where snow happens. They go sledding and snowboarding a ton. Like, this screams wintry. So if you're just looking for a straight up winter thriller, this one will do. Was it amazing? No, but I still will recommend it in vain of this video. Now, moving on to a few that I have not read yet, but I want to, but I still would recommend them. One, Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. This is another YA book. Spoiler alert, I did attempt to read this many years ago, but DNF'd it because she big, like she is long. Naomi Novik is very beautifully written. Like, this is almost 500 pages. No thanks. But it just wasn't for me. So this book is like kind of a, it draws readers in deeper, glittering realm of fantasy where the boundary between wonder and terror is thinner and safety begins stolen quickly as a kiss. So it takes place in the winter time, and it's like a fairy tale-esque. I can't explain to you exactly what it was. While reading it, I was enjoying it, but I noticed that I was reading it so slowly that it wasn't kind of worth it to read it anymore, if that makes sense. But somehow still, I want to revisit it to see maybe if I can read it faster. But I just remember it being very set in a very wintry realm. And even I think a prince comes to whisk away, like kind of a creepy prince, this girl on like these kind of like dead horses in the winter. Like, I was like, this is interesting. So I do want to recommend it for that regard. So just so you know. One that I am planning to read this winter that I want to recommend is Midwinter Murder by Agatha Christie. So this is a collection of winter-themed stories from the Queen of Mystery. So it has, how many does this have in this? It has about 10 or 12 short stories in this. They all take place during winter. 3 by Mice, The Chocolate Box, A Christmas Tragedy, The Plymouth Express, The World's End. I trust and fully stand by this recommendation. I've read 2 Agatha Christie books before. Her settings are great. You will feel like you're there. So I'm very excited to read this one. And in case you want strictly just wintertime kind of thrillers, you got like 12 short stories in this one that all take place in winter. So boom, there it is for you. One that I was going to read, and then I got spoiled for by the ending, so I feel like I can't read it, but I still want to recommend it, is Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. As you can tell, this book is clearly set in winter. So, old dilapidated church where this couple decides to go on an anniversary trip, and they start to notice things are kind of spooky and stuff like that. And the ending is quite thrilling. Like, it's a very good, like, plot twist. But it says, well, they went weekend away to Scotland. It might just be what their marriage needs. This weekend may make or break their marriage, but they didn't randomly win this trip. One of them is lying, and someone that doesn't want them to live happily ever after. So dun dun dun. Really great one. And then I have 2 that I don't know, I want to read. The Winter Read by Jennifer McMahon. When I look up Winter Reads, this is the first one that pops up. I have read a book by this author, so I want to read this one. This takes place in, I want to say, what year is it? I know it takes place in Vermont in 1908, and it also takes place now, and I think it's found like a really kind of old farmhouse in the wintry, and they find like a body or something like that, or a diary about murder. So I don't know. It sounds really, really good. And the last one, is this a YA one? I don't know. The Bear The Nightingale by Catherine Arden. I've heard a lot about this series. It's a very Russian folklore book that I've heard a lot about. It says, at the end of Russian wilderness, the winter lasts most of the year and the snowdrifts grow taller than the houses. So clearly it's meant to be read in the winter. It's a magical debut novel from gifted and gorgeous voice. It spins an irresistible spell and announces the arrival of a singular talent. So again, kind of folklore-y, but again, wintry. So Hope you are okay with me including books I have not read in this because I wanted to give you like kind of a full rounded video. So there you have some wintry reading recommendations. All of these books have a very snowy setting and are clearly meant to be read in the winter time. I recommend all of them probably. As I say, I haven't read some of them, but strictly for the setting alone, I would recommend them. But yeah, I would love to know if you have any recommendations of books that just take place in the winter time that are perfect to read during this time of year. I would love to know. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.